With more on the Foxconn blast and what it means for Apple's iPhone or iPad, we bring in Ashok Kumar. He is a tech analyst with Rodman and Renshaw. He joins us now by phone from Palo Alto, California. Ashok, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Apple declining to comment on any supply disruptions after the explosion. What is the worst case scenario, though?
Again, Honhai or Foxconn is the largest ODM partner for Apple. So Apple manufactures the iPad at two locations at Honhai's factories. The older, the Shenzhen factory, is at full capacity, and the Chengdu was supposed to supply the additional volume requirements for Apple. So it's a newer of the facilities and still coming up the learning curve. And the production estimates vary anywhere between 10 to 11 million units, for the current, quarter, the June quarter. It's unclear the magnitude of impact will have on Apple, but we think the worst case is Apple should still be able to supply about 8 million units in the current quarter. So that compares to 4.7 million units they shipped in the March quarter.
So basically you're saying that Apple's pretty diversified in its manufacturing suppliers.
Yes, I mean, they've not diversified in the manufacturing supply, but they're diversified across locations, between Shenzhen and Chengdu, the Chengdu being the newer of the facilities for Honhai.
Now, officials, we know, Ashok, still investigating what specifically caused the accident. There seems to be a theory about combustible dust in a polishing workshop. But what's Apple's greater corporate responsibility? I mean, this is following last year, the spate of suicides. I mean, what responsibility does Apple have to a factory, even if it's not in its home country?
Absolutely. I think Apple is required to maintain, minimum standards of work conditions and relative to their developed markets in a counterpart. But I'm sure a lot of this has been put into the contractual requirements of their ODM partners. But Apple, cannot be held liable for all, work conditions and, compliance thereof, right? So I think there is some responsibility, but I'm sure Apple cannot be held in total responsibility for what has transpired.
We know Apple meant to sell 32 million iPads this year, double last year. Does that figure still sound right to you?
Oh, yes. I think as it stands right now, the iPad is a tablet market. We don't see a legitimate competition for the iPad until 2012. So any delays or shortfall in supply will essentially be pushed out in terms of demand satiation into the latter part of the year.
Ashok, thanks so much for the time. Ashok Kumar joining us there. He is a tech analyst at Rodman and Renshaw, joining us there on the phone from Palo Alto, California.